This is the BBN, and today on Presents, we bring you how Fox can fix the X-Men. Solution number one, the hardest reboot ever. The X-Men franchise has fans globally, worldwide. People love them some mutants. That's a good thing, especially if you're a comic book fan like me who grew up reading the pages of Marvel Comics and DC a little, but mainly Marvel Comics. Grew up reading the pages of these things, loved them, loved the stories that they had, and was extremely excited to hear that the first X-Men movie was actually going to be made. And then it was made. And then I wasn't happy about it. So today, we're going to tell you how to fix what's broken. Solution number one, the hardest reboot possible. You're going to recast. You're going to get a new director. You're even going to get new cinematography, guys. You're going to get a totally new vision. If the X-Men were a little bit darker in its cinematography, I think it'd be more appealing, more like a Watchmen, like what Zack Snyder does. It'll be much more appealing, aesthetically pleasing to the stories that actually are in the X-Men universe. The movies that we see are not really stories from the X-Men universe. They're taking little pieces of something here, little pieces of something there, little pieces of something there, and then they're trying to cram it all together, but they're missing so much that most of the movies are just exposition. Most of the movies are just explaining stuff so you can understand what happens later, instead of you living through the event and then it having a real emotional connection to you. This is not what they're doing. What they're doing is exposition, 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 fight, exposition, 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 fight, exposition, 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 final fight. That's what they're doing in the X-Men movies. Right there. That's it. This is what's going on. So the first thing they need to do is the hardest reboot possible. And they need to recast. Now, I saw Apocalypse. Okay? And I'm not extremely disappointed in the casting as far as Scott goes. I think that a young Scott Summers would look somewhere around like how the guy that they got to play him looked. As far as with absolutely every other cast member, Psylocke. That was a great cast also. She did well. I would hoped that they would have I still think that they should not have put her in, but it had nothing to do with the way she looked, and it had nothing to do with her acting. It had more to do with her athleticism. She looked really stiff when they had her on the wires, and it didn't look fluid. And for somebody to have Psylocke's fighting abilities, you would think that a person it would just be more fluid. So they either have to decide that they want to use a little bit more CGI, or they're going to have to decide, you know what, you're going to need to do yoga for a couple months before we start filming. One of the two. Got to give. So, yes, they need to do an extremely hard reboot. They need to, everything that they got, they need to say, you know what, it happened, but that was on a whole different Earth. Now we're on this Earth over here. So, okay, that stuff happened, but that happened in another Earth. Now we're going to the Earth 616. That probably happened on like Earth 10036. That's where that stuff happened. Anybody that know about comics understands that joke. But now we're gonna start doing the X-Men from Earth 616. That's the Marvel continuity that we basically all read, and basically that's the one that is our continuity, the 616. So yeah, now we've done with the 10036 continuity. Now we're gonna move over here to the 616 continuity, and they should make no bones about it, and they should even embrace it. That's what they need to do. They need to embrace it. They need to recast. They need to get a new director, a director that doesn't want to. You see, when you deal with the X-Men, you deal with prejudice and you deal with racism, right? But it doesn't feel like prejudice and racism. It feels like something else. It's not prejudice and it's not racism. It's just we don't like you, but it's not us necessarily doing stuff to prevent you from doing anything. It's just we don't like you, and you know we don't like you. And that's it. It's not like in the comics when the government even had things in place that was causing for mutants to have problems here. And you had people it was like how blacks was in the 40s. That's how it was to be a mutant. It was like how blacks were treated in the 40s. And this is not a slight against any people who live alternative lifestyles, but it was about how blacks were treated in the 40s, not how gays were treated in the 90s. You know, that's all I'm saying. It's just the whole vibe is wrong. You know, I'm not saying I'm for any oppression, and I'm not trying to speak negatively about, you know, people that live alternative lifestyles, whether you gay, anybody in the LB, I don't want to misquote, I don't really know much about that stuff, but anybody in the gay community, I'm not trying to talk negatively about them at all. But what I'm saying is that that's how the X-Men movies come across more. It doesn't come across enough like civil rights oppression. It comes off more like we just don't like you. You know, like that. That's how it comes off. Like the mutants from the comic books were treated more like, I can't say it no better, blacks in the 40s. That's how the mutants was treated.